With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to another episode of But Am I Wrong? Brought to you by two people who have never been wrong.
It's a good time. I love never having been wrong. Thank you so much for having me and being here today. It's just an honor to be recognized as someone who's never wrong with another person who is never wrong.
Double rights.
The burden we carry on these frail little shoulders of ours.
Delicate.
I'm just getting so tired. I'm just, oh my gosh, there's just so much.
But surprisingly, with all that weight, we do not have thick necks.
No, because we're not injecting steroids in there and just being build those traps, never let go. No. We can roll those shoulders. I'll be honest though. If I roll my right one, this collarbone pops and it doesn't feel good.
Okay, well, don't do that.
I know, I don't. I can definitely roll my shoulders more than Herschel Walker can. That man is the thickest neck in...
Anyways, my name's Melisa Diamond Mont.
My name is Meghan Rinks. So we are going to tell you so many things on this podcast. We've got lots of segments, 3 segments to be exact. So we will get into what specifically each of those segments are as we hop on into them. But just know that the theme of this show, the overarching idea of this show, is because we are never wrong. It is our duty, our obligation, legal and moral, to tell other people when they're wrong. Some of those people have asked for it. Some of those people have no idea we're talking about them. And we're just here to keep your life interesting, the ethical gossip that we all desire and deserve to have in this world.
Yeehaw!
Giddy on up, motherfuckers.
All right, so should we get into our first segment, which is But Am I Wrong? And that's when we pick something from our lives that we were either wrong about, never, or a rant or something that really just grinds our gears that we want to share. And so I got reached out to by a book publisher, big book publisher. And they sent me a DM and said that they noticed that I left a review on Amazon for a video production book. And they asked me to review their new book. And I said, well, first of all, if you saw an Amazon review of me reviewing a book about production, it would have been from at least 10 years ago when I was in school.
I was like, Melissa, when have you found the time to write in-depth?
This was when I was
First
in
of all,
school.
Reading a book and then in-depth Amazon reviews about said book.
Yeah, I mean, books that I've read were books that I've been paid to read for directing audiobooks. So, and I didn't respond to them at first because I thought it was spam, but then I looked and I was like, this is actually from a verified account that is a big publisher. And then they sent me another message. And so then I said, what's the rate to review this? And they said the review was posting on Amazon. Please let us know if we can send you a copy. I said, but how much are you paying? And they said, we appreciate your prompt response. However, at this stage, we are solely seeking voluntary reviews. If this arrangement does not suit you, I completely understand. Thank you for expressing your interest in our book. I never expressed interest. I asked how much you were paying because, one, this is a whole textbook.
Shut the fuck up.
It's a whole fucking textbook. This is from, again, a huge publisher. Also, they had to search me to know that, like, to find me. They found my Instagram, sent me a message. So they know that, like, I'm a professional working in this industry. They also know that the review I left was from like 10 years ago. And so I said, asking an industry professional to do free labor for a book that is below their skill level is very unprofessional. So was I wrong?
No, not for, I'm really glad you left the fact that it was a textbook to the end, because like that just makes it even more bonkers. Okay, I have questions. How do they have your contact information through Amazon?
My name's on it. Like my Amazon name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who is, like, what is the job title of the like, because I'm just imagining it's not someone high up. So I'm just imagining a boss being like, I need you to do, like, were they requested to do this exact thing? Or did they think that they were like, ooh, genius, I'm going to go through Amazon reviews on other things and reach out to people? Like, is your review like at the very top? And like of one that like that makes it seem like, oh, it's like the first one. Like,
there was a time in my life where I was like, maybe I'm going to do like professional Amazon reviews. And I was leaving really like in-depth reviews. But again, this was like 10 years ago when I was in school.
Yeah.
Amazon reviews have dates on them. They took their time to find me on Instagram, which they had to Google me to get there.
This to me is like, this would be me if I worked at like a corporate job and I was just like, I hate my job. I'm just like trying to like prolong the process of like wasting time. Like, cause like that's what this was. Like, this was a royal waste of everybody's time, including the person who reached out to, like, there was nothing, like, they logically, they put so much time and research into this that they knew nothing was going to come up of this, but they could spend a couple afternoons dedicating to doing all of this. I'm shocked. And also, I guess now that makes sense, it's a textbook, because I was like, I know that there are websites where you can like request to be put on to get like books and to do in exchange for reviews, and like they're usually novels, and people get excited about being matched with books and getting to do all of that shit. And so there's just no demand for anyone wanting to read this.
Right.
But they're like, well, we were wondering if we could make you feel special to then do it. But then also half of those messages sound like automated too, even though it's Instagram. So it's probably not.
Right.
That's so weird.
It's so weird and just annoying.
Yeah. And have you ever worked with this publisher before?
No, it's a textbook publisher. So it's not like books that I direct. It would be a textbook. I guess there would be people that do read textbooks for people that need to hear it, but like it wasn't that. And based on how much money I get paid to direct an audiobook, so I know how much it costs to read and do like a peer review on a textbook.
Well, that's my other question. That's like, okay, so they did all this research enough to like go through your fucking Amazon reviews, find your personal contact information and all of that shit. I'm like, at that point, when you discover, wow, this random person who left a review on Amazon works in the book space and is a professional in this industry. Wow, I'm actually going to change how I said I discovered them or got their contact. Do you know what I mean? Like switch. Don't just be like, don't stick with the Amazon story. Like, realize that you stumbled upon a gold mine and be like, oh, this is a professional. Either A, don't waste the time by offering them no money in exchange for labor, or bring up that they notice your like actual active professional career, not your illustrious Amazon review history.
Ridiculous. But the book, it had to have been a textbook though. It wasn't even like one that I would have read. Because if it was a production book.
Yeah, no, in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's a textbook.
Yeah.
Did you leave any reviews for other things on Amazon? Like, do you think that like in your near future, you could be getting reached out to by other things that you would enjoy?
It was 10 years. Like, it was like one of those things where I was like, ooh, I could do this 10 years ago. So I don't even remember. I don't remember.
Wow. That's really fucking annoying. Why did these things happen to you?
I don't know.
Like, does your Instagram give off like approachable vibe? Like, because like I love you so much. Like, I would not call you like, I guess maybe if I have to think back when I didn't know you, if like you look friendly and approachable.
I've never been told that I was friendly. People are always like, I always thought I was a bitch. And I was like, you should have kept with that first.
Exactly.
Intuition.
Like when people realize that like you're not a raging cunt, you're like, God damn it. Like go back to that. Like that's so like the idea to me that like someone like looks on your Instagram and you go, yes, this is the one. This is the one that's going to do this for free. She looks just happy to do it.
Yeah, happy. She has all the time in the world. Textbooks are like 500 thick pages with columns.
Truly, like, I never even crossed my mind that people would have to like read textbooks to review, do anything like that. Like, you should be getting health insurance for that on top of like, you should be getting a 401k match for that. That's like, that is a horrible, really difficult job. I would hate that. So that'd be my personal hell.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, you're not wrong at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Your turn.
So I have what I guess is a fucking hot take. And I actually don't know what your stance will be on this.
Okay.
My hot take is I am fucking anti the statement, we're naming adults, not babies. This is like a whole fucking thing that has come up in probably the last couple of years, but everybody's like, trying to out unique the other with names and come up with all of these things. And you'll see a celebrity baby name announcement, or even on like some of like the Name Nerd subreddit, or influencers naming their children, like whatever it is, people talking shit about people they know. And it's always like, these people just don't understand. Like, you're naming an adult. You're not naming a baby. Or like, oh, I can't pick this name because that's a baby's name. That's not an adult name. No.
That's not how names
there were
work.
Babies named Steve. There are babies named Bartholomew. And there are babies named Rosie. And there are adults named Rosie. Like, this whole thing is like, why are you infantilizing certain names and then not with others? Like, I just think it's so fucking weird. One of my favorite fun facts is Tiffany is like a biblical name, or like a Shakespearean, like old school fucking name that you would never think of. But like, we have all these preconceived notions that are purely based on our own fucking worldview of the time period where we have lived and grown up. So like, I think of old people names. Well, my grandmother's name was Blodwin, which is not so much of a common
Is
name.
that a last name?
No, first name Blodwin.
No, but I didn't know if they like took it from a previous last name and then made it a first name, because it sounds like a last name.
I know. I think it's Welsh.
Okay.
But I'm not entirely
I
sure. There's a lot of
that.
like, I know, it's kind of cool. There's like a Welsh-Irish crossover names a lot in my family. So like,
I know Bronwyns. I know a couple Bronwyns.
That was, I think, maybe one of the sisters, or like one of like another family member, like older than her. But yeah, I think there's like a Gwendolyn, maybe.
I've got an Aunt Gwen whose name's Gwendolyn.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of like very like long in that kind of cadence of those names. But like, if I think of what I think of as an old name, it'd be like Edna. And there are babies with the name Edna who are going to look at old people names, and old people names are going to be Chloe and Hannah and Sarah. So like, it's purely like, these name trends are trends for a reason. They're on a cycle, and it's going to be whatever you associate those things with. But when you're naming your child and you're like, well, no, I'm naming an adult. I'm naming an adult. No. That child is a fucking child. And this whole thing of like, well, it would be like an unprofessional name for like someone to like have at work. I'm like, what is an unprofessional name to have at work? The only one I will say that I understand, and I'm like, I wish it wasn't that way, but I do understand, is when people are like not interested in naming their own young daughters sweetie or honey because of how men in the workplace would probably abuse that. Like that, sure, I could get that. But also, I think not naming someone the name with something that's like E on the end, where it's like, oh no, it's like too cutesy. Like that's just like that's not a grown up. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like name kids, name people, whatever you want to name them. Like again, I repeat, there were babies named Steve.
I have a friend from high school. His name was Steven, and that's what he was called his whole life. So he was a baby named Steven. Who cares?
And then he was a kid named Steven, and then he was a teenager, and then he was an adult. Like, I really don't like it. And it also connotates like really what it feels like a lot of people are saying is like their stripper names. And it's pretty much happening almost exclusively with more femme names. And I'm just like, what's wrong with a stripper name? What's wrong?
Yeah.
What's wrong with a stripper with a certain name?
That's like my name, Diamond. There was a movie that came out in the 90s called Players Club, and and it's a stripper movie, and the main character's name was Diamond, and the people were like, your name's a stripper name. I was like, this is my great grandmother's name. Like, it's not a strip. It's just like, and so what? It's a name.
You know what names I think we should steer clear of? War criminals, dictators, strippers? What?
Who cares?
Who cares? Truly, who cares? Who fucking cares? It's just really fucking grinds my gears. And I see all of these videos of people being like, names that I would use for my baby, but I can't because it's a baby. Like, I don't want to just name it like just like a baby name. And even some people would be like Davy. And I'm like, okay, so then Davis, like, or just Davy. Like, there's no name that someone has said to me that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. That sounds like that would be weird on an adult. Like,
but even like Davy, like, or Davi, or like that's also a cultural name.
Yeah, like, and they all like. You tell me that baby's name is Davy, cute. You tell me that adult's name is Davy, cute. That grandpa's name is Davy, cute. Like, yeah, cool. That's Davy.
Uncle
Great to
Davy.
meet Davy.
Yeah,
amazing. Nice to meet you, Davy. Hi. Like, I just think back to like my aunt, who we're not going to get into my fucking family tree, but essentially my cousins. I talk about my cousins, but we've got a lot of big age gaps. There was a lot of teen pregnancy in my family. And so my cousins, who I call my cousins, are my second cousins. So my second cousins, who are both older than me, they call my aunt, because she's their grandma, they call her Gaga or Gaga. And like to this day, that is what she's called. That's essentially like a baby going goo goo gaga. And this is a woman in her 70s being referred to as that. Like, she's not a baby. And they're calling her goo goo gaga. Like, it just, name your kid whatever the fuck you want to name your kid. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're not wrong.
I think I'm over certain names personally, but just the spellings. Like, you know, that's like, if you want to roast anyone for anything, like people who are doing unnecessary things, I just say, think of the Scantron test. As someone with a hyphenated last name, it doesn't fit. So just think of the Scantron test when you are, the only thing I would say when naming your kid. Just the Scantron
doing
test.
Scantrons?
Well, Scantron test and anything that involves you having to fill your name in through bubbles, or with like, you have a small space to write your name. That's the only thing I'll say. Like, my name is a lot of fucking letters. Like, and then they threw in the H. They just add more. Just add more fucking letters. So that's my hot take.
I don't think that's too hot. I know the internet will make you think it's too hot, but I just don't think that. Whatever. So my friend named her baby Sterling, and she really liked the name. And then people were telling her it was like an old man name, and I was like, who cares? Like, it's a great name. That was my grandfather and my uncle's name. Like, that's a cute name.
Yeah, I grew up with a Sterling.
And Sterling K. Brown exists too.
I also could not give it less of a shit of what someone like names. Like, someone like named their kid like Pumpkin. I'm like, okay. Someone names their kid.
Reminds me of Flavor of Love.
Someone names their kid I Love New York. I'm like, relatable. Tiffany Ballard.
New York spit on pumpkin, so
that you have twins. You're just starting lifelong drama between the two. I'm just recreating my favorite moments from TV and my children. That would be so funny.
All right, now we're gonna take a break.
are back from our break, and it's time to get into our second segment, which is titled, But Are You Wrong? And in this segment, we read your email submissions where you let us know a situation, some drama, or kerfuffle that is happening in your life where you want to know if you are the hero or the villain. So you can submit those to butamiwrongpod@gmail.com. You have to keep them under 300 words. And we do ask that you include ages, pronouns if you would like, and give some pseudonyms to people because it helps us follow along a little bit better. And if it's not too much to ask, for the people who are going above and beyond and you want to do that little extra credit, you don't have to do this, but if you, for fun, like doing it where you name people based on characters in a TV show or a movie or anything like that, pop culture, you need to make sure the relationships add up because I personally have a very hard time when you're naming someone. It's like Rose and Jack and your brother and sister. I'm like, okay, but the Titanic and like this seems a little incestuous and it's just going to have me to have these biases. Like I can't check those at the door. So,
all right. So email number 1. Hi, Megan and Melissa. My friend and I are 23, she, her, and her boyfriend is 23, he, him. She started dating her boyfriend in the beginning of 2022 and casually mentioned that he hasn't been vaccinated for COVID yet because he has a phobia of needles. During that time, we weren't seeing people or going to get-togethers because of COVID, so it seemed odd that she was willing to go out with this guy when she had been so careful/stressed the importance of COVID restrictions for people's health. I said, I don't feel comfortable with him not being vaccinated for myself and my family's health. The beginning of 2022 was when everyone, her included, got their 3rd doses in my area. Now in 2023, my friend and I both had gotten our booster doses. Later, she mentioned how her boyfriend still hasn't got any vaccines because of his phobia of needles. And I reacted saying it didn't seem like a valid reason to not get vaccinated since it has been almost 2 years since we were originally able to get vaccines. She mentioned that he was trying to go to a specific place where they take phobias into account when administering vaccines. And I asked why he didn't go there in the past 2 years. And she said he was very busy with work and life. I told her I wouldn't be comfortable being around him in the future until he gets vaccinated and would keep our interactions limited to outside because of this. Am I wrong to have said this to her? She reacted seemingly fine and hasn't been upset with me since. We don't live near each other, long distance friendship. I needed to show proof of vaccination to continue university classes and go to work. I don't know how he hasn't needed to / avoided it all. Well, do
you perchance relate to this?
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to speak of them or talk about them or in any way portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. It would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
As someone who is terrified.
She doesn't love needles. It's not her favorite thing, is an understatement.
Terrified of needles. I got vaccinated and boosted numerous times. And so I do not feel like this is a valid excuse because health outweighed my fear. And if he was really trying to go to the specific place, which I don't believe exists, because every time I've gone to get my vaccine, I just tell the people, I'm like, hey, I have a fear. And most of them, they've been very calm. One woman was like, great, I need a break. So you gather yourself and I'll I'm just going to be here. And then she came back and like, I told her I was ready, but I still wasn't ready and freaked out. And then she tapped me and pinched me and then just stuck it in. Like, this is something that a lot of people have. Nurses are trained, or the person administering the vaccine, nurse, doctor, pharmacist, whoever is permitted to give it, they're trained in this. They will help. Even like some places I went, on the form, it said, do you need extra time? This is not an excuse. That is not his excuse. He is, dare I say it, anti-vax.
Yes.
And he might have been vaccinated as a kid. I don't know. But like pertaining to this specific vaccine, he is not making the necessary precautions to do this. If he wanted to, he would.
If he would.
If he wanted to go to the specific place that he believes that they will take special care of him, he would make the time to do it. But he's not. And so, no, you're not wrong. But also, I would limit my interactions with her as well, because she's in contact with him constantly. So it's not just him. It's her that I would limit interactions with too. And also, he's just making up an excuse not to get the vaccine. This is not the truth.
Yeah, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Like, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think like very rarely would I ever come at phobias, rebuting or like trying to work through phobias with logic in this sense, because it doesn't always come across very sensitive. But in this sense, like, this isn't a hypothetical. Like, there is a very real pandemic with very real health repercussions. And if you get horribly sick, you'll have needles, and then you'll also be sick as well. Like, it's not something you totally avoid. And like, even with you, like when you were when we were all getting boosted and stuff, I remember looking at stuff for like, I think it was even like regular vaccine and boosters and stuff. And here's a little backstory. Melissa definitely has asthma. She just is not diagnosed with asthma yet. And so when looking for, like, we were looking at appointments and stuff, I remember looking through it. I was like, Melissa, you definitely can get your vaccine early. And you were like, I know I probably can, but like, I have been mentally preparing. Like, I know exactly when I'm going to do this. And like, even like there's a date, like when I got mine, I was like, oh, you can get yours early the day that I got mine. And you were like, I'm good. Like, I know this is like what I need for this. And same thing with boosters. You're like, you would set the time and you would do all of this research and thought. Nobody is like holding a gun to your head. No one's forcing you to do this, but like, you're mitigating your own phobias based on what soothes you and what comforts you in an uncomfortable situation. And it was like, you just set those parameters for yourself, and you got vaccinated within the same schedule as everybody else.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah. And also I was like, I'm at home by myself, so I don't need to like get in front of line for other people. But also, like you said, I had to mentally prepare myself, and I did for each one of them. I have mentally prepared myself. I've scheduled it. I've talked to, because Allison's gone with me for every single one of them. I talked to her, see what worked for her schedule. And like, this is, it's not an excuse. Like, if he would make the time to do this. He just does not want to get vaccinated. Having a busy schedule, I have a busy schedule.
Yeah. And he's saying life got in the way. And it's like, well, hopefully, what if you die?
Yeah.
Because that could also, death is a little bit more life altering than life. Some might call it ending. So I really agree with you in this sense. I think that like at this point too, I'm sure there are some people who have not done a lot of work leading up to this with like their phobia. And that to me would be like, okay, I would be in telehealth therapy appointments constantly until I'm able to do that. And I would also be isolating myself and making sure of that, because my phobias and my own things that should not put other people potentially at risk. And I would be working like on every free moment that I had, and I would prioritize doing whatever I needed to get myself there.
It's been 3 years. Like, there's no
years. Yeah.
There's no
at this point
anymore.
I agree with you. Like, he's straight up just an anti-vaxxer, and this is his cover. And it makes it's a cover that's hard for other people to question or to like be like, really? Like, or in his mind, maybe like it's the free pass. You can't judge for that.
Right.
But here I am judging. Don't tell me I can't judge.
That's what was asked of us. That's the whole
for
point
him,
of this
for
show.
him. If he's like being like, I gave myself, I found the way out that nobody can question. I go, I'm here to question.
Anyway, your turn.
Hi, I'm an M. My pronouns are she, her. A weird interaction happened today over text with my boyfriend, he, him, of 4 years. We've been living together for 2 years. I am 25. He is 30. I need your perfect input. Oh, thank you. Am I wrong in this situation? But they said in this sus. My partner, Paul, texted me to let me know that he is going to have dinner tonight with some of his friends. When I asked who it was, he told me, I'm going out with Mark. You met him ages ago once for his birthday dinner. Andrea and his other friend who was supposed to be at the birthday dinner but never showed. Since Andrea is a new name I've never heard, I asked who Andrea was. He replied that Andrea is a friend who was supposed to be there for dinner but never showed. They're going to be 3 for dinner now, not 4. Mark, Andrea, and him. Keep in mind, this dinner was literally 4 years ago. I found it weird that he mentioned that she was supposed to be there because it's so long ago and she never even went to the party. I'm not a very jealous person at all, but it seems like he's weirdly trying to put some distance between himself and Andrea. In a weird way, presenting it like she is his friend's friend and not his friend at all. I asked if he is friends with Andrea and he confirmed. When I asked him why he phrased it so weirdly, he replied he was just trying to provide context. Am I reading too much into this? P.S. He's a translator. Writing is his job. I'm not saying that he texts me perfect essays all day, but normally he's a pretty good communicator.
What?
This is like weird to me.
This is very weird.
So I don't think that you're like wrong for reading into this. I also don't want to say I think he's like totally wrong, but based on like, really thank you for the last little sentence you said about like, he's a translator. He's normally a very good communicator, because like my initial question would have been, does he offer some like weird contextual things? Because like I sometimes do that all the time where I like want to tell somebody something, but I decide I have to like do a backstory that is like almost completely unrelated. And like I will then be like, oh my God, what was I talking about before? So if he's not like that normally, it does kind of seem like an excess of useless information to like overload you with that information. So you don't ask, or it's like lying by omission. But I used to do this like as a teenager where like I would like for adults in my life, if they like ask questions, like I would just overly share about things about other people. So then they wouldn't ask about me, or they would assume that like, oh, look, talking about all this, like clearly like doesn't relate to this or something like that. Like that was a tactic that I had. And it is definitely a tactic that like you overload someone else with like useless information so you don't dig for the useful information. So I think it's such weird, unnecessary context. And I don't know if my mind would have gone to like, oh, he's like trying to put distance between himself. Like, but as you say that, like, I do think that you are correct. I don't know if I would have gotten to that conclusion so quickly. Like, I might have just been like, why are you being weird? Do you have like, what, like, is there someone else who's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if it's this Andrea who is the problem, or Andrea's a red herring and he's trying to make you worry about like that. And that's actually not it. You know what I mean? Like there's someone else there who's someone who he is interested in, but it's like, oh, well, Andrea. But then very quickly you could then meet Andrea, talk to Andrea, and then suddenly see like, oh, it's definitely not. But yeah, this is just, I think this is also weird. And I would be not having a good time processing this.
I would look on social media and figure out who the fuck Andrea is, because this is weird to me. I don't understand why he's being weird about it. If he just wasn't like trying to overly explain himself, then I would be like, whatever, cool. I'm fine with significant others having friends of another sex or whatever. It's just odd that he went into so much explanation and then was weird about it. And then I don't understand why the thing from 4 years ago was even brought up. Was it just like, no, we've been friends for 4 years and you just don't know this person? That's even weirder, that they've been friends for 4 years and you've been together with them for 2 years and you don't know who this person is.
Very good point, dude. Very good point. I didn't even pick up on that. Yeah, I mean, you don't need my permission to snoop, as we always say. If the urge to snoop comes over you, there's a reason, and you snoop for like you don't accidentally snoop. Like you snoop because you think something might be up. And I am very, very pro snooping in that sense, because either it eats away at you or you find what you need to see. Like, you know, if you're not going to leave without having concrete proof and evidence or whatever it is, like that's when you have to snoop. So I would not only be checking all the socials, like Melissa said, like I would be snooping on his phone, emails, you know, credit card statement. If you live together, don't commit like things.
I need info.
Please let us know what this, like how this has transpired, because this is from this dinner has already happened. So we would like to know.
All right. Hello, Meghan and Melissa. Last October, my boyfriend, male 24, of 2 years, broke up with me, female 25, randomly over text messages. In mid-January, he finally agreed to exchange things. I gave him a letter I had written asking if he could explain why he ended things. February 27th, he texted me a response to the letter detailing how depressed he was, saying he was secretly addicted to pornography and that it made him more sad and more depressed. This is all in quotes. More sad, more depressed, and I'm sick of being on this earth. I'm not going to die on purpose, but I wouldn't fight it if that's what fate had for me. I'm tired of pretending to be the person everyone sees, end quote. It was alarming to read, so I wanted to reach out to someone he's close with, but didn't know if it was overstepping. But I asked my therapist and she encouraged me to do so. So I texted his sister and she flipped the fuck out. To be fair, I got nervous after texting her, so I didn't look at my phone for an hour. She said this was some sick joke and was going to report me to the police. When I saw, I apologized for freaking her out and said I just wanted someone in his life to know. She asked why he would have told me this. I said he was explaining the breakup and sent a screenshot with that quote I shared with y'all, but not the porn part as it seemed too personal to share. So she knew I wasn't lying. Then she said nothing. After that, I was sobbing, thinking maybe I had made everything worse for him. My friends say I did the right thing, but I don't know. Am I wrong for letting his sister know how depressed he is? I don't think you're wrong for letting her know, but I think you're wrong for the way that you went about it. This is heavy information and a lot to get in a text message, especially if you weren't in contact with her leading up to this, and she knows that y'all are broken up and probably doesn't know the full story of why he broke up. Well, he does. She doesn't know. She doesn't know the full story of why he broke up with her. So I would have, if I were to do this, I would have said, hey, I have something that's important that I need to discuss with you. Can we either talk, or are you comfortable right now to receive the text message? Because this is a lot of information to put on someone who may not have been in the headspace to hear it at that time. And so you need, and I think you should have prefaced it to say that this is like important and dire, and I need to talk to you, and not have sent it in a text message unless you let her know ahead of time that this was going to be something heavy. Because if I got that in text message, I don't think I would have responded in the way that she did, but it might, let's say I was in the middle of maybe recording this podcast and I looked down and I had a text message saying that my sibling was depressed and they didn't want to be on earth anymore. I don't think I would have responded kindly to that. I might have taken a moment, but like, especially coming from somebody that I haven't talked to in a long time. So again, I don't think you were wrong for telling her, but I think you were wrong in the way that you went about it.
I fully agree. I don't think you're wrong in telling her at all. I don't think you made the situation worse at all because your intention was to not make it worse. But I don't think that you were quite emotionally ready to do what you felt you were obligated to do. And that to me is like the not checking your phone for an hour. That's not okay in this situation. And I agree with Melissa. Like, I understand if you wouldn't want to talk about it on the phone. It's like a relatively fresh breakup. Like, you're still very emotional about it. I am uncomfortable talking on the phone to most people, but I really appreciate people who let me know that they're going to like they've got something to tell me that's like heavy or something, and then ask if I'm in the space to hear it. People have done that to me and I've been like, I'm honestly like not, like I can talk about it tomorrow. And I've also had people who haven't asked, and I've had a situation about getting a text message about like someone in my family passing away in like a really horrific, tragic way while I was on FaceTime with Lily and Jesse. And I like burst into tears and just like slammed the computer shut. And they were both like, what the fuck just happened? And like, they were both like so kind and like helpful, sweet about it. But like, it's like being like emotionally accosted. Like it is day ending, week ending, like that kind of stuff. They don't become helpful in the way that you're reaching out to them because they're closer to that person and they can be of more of help than you can. When you just unload something on that without someone being prepared or ready for that, they don't become helpful. They become in an emotionally numb state similar to the one that you might be in. So I think that you felt this was the right thing to do and you knew it was the right thing to do. And I agree with you, but I think that just because you were in the right for doing it, it can have been the wrong time. And it doesn't mean that just the wrong time for her. But if this was something you really needed to get over with very quickly, then you weren't at the right space to tell her yet. And that's also okay. And in that instance, then I would have asked your therapist, like while you're in the office with her or whether you're like on something like, can you help me draft how to go about this? Because you're processing a breakup and you're also processing this information. So the way that you're thinking about how other people are processing information, you're coming from an emotional heightened state. And so you don't have that baseline to make sure that you're not just bringing people into that state along with you as you're trying to, you know, grasp for air and get someone who can be a little bit more like stabilizing. And we can destabilize other people in those instances without attempting to or wanting to. But I've been on the other side of it too, of a former friend who I heard through their partner or their ex-partner who I was very close with, and that they were having a really hard time. And it was like alarming the things that they were saying. And their ex like did not feel comfortable telling their parents. And they told me, and I was like, I'll tell their parents. Like, I don't have this, our friendship has ended, but I don't have this like really intense current thing happening with them right now. So I can tell their parents, and it was a lot easier for me to do so than it would have been for them. And their parents did not take it well. Like they got upset with me, and the person didn't take it well when they found it afterwards. But I was like, I don't want to sound like callous to say like I was fine with that, but it was like, I wasn't so emotionally invested in these relationships. Like I was just doing it to get the message to the people who should hear the message. And so when you're too emotionally tied into these situations and how other people react to them can really like deeply affect you, then it's like, okay, so I'm not the right person to get through to this person. And maybe I'm not even the right person to reach out to somebody to get through to this person. Like, okay, so is there a mutual friend that we have that can reach out to his sister? So I don't think your intentions were wrong.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And the thing is, like, once you sent the text messages, the sister was more accepting of it. So she may not have initially believed you, but she was still like, once she got over the shock, she was in a place where she could accept it. So I think that just shows that like it was the delivery and not the information. All right, now your turn.
This one gets straight to the fucking point. Am I wrong if I start leading Post-it notes calling out my disgusting coworkers? I'm on the edge of my goddamn fucking seat. Hola, Meghan and Melisa. I am 26 years old from Buenos Aires, Argentina. She, her. I work at an office full time, and I'm having a list of all the problems this office and my cohabitants have that are just gross and rude. First off, we have 2 bathrooms per floor. At the women's bathroom on the bottom floor where I'm located, someone keeps peeing and not flushing the toilet. It's not your house, just don't do it. Moving on to the shared kitchen, I found multiple mugs dirty with the rest of coffee on the counter, and no one seems too eager to wash them. Same with the cutlery. We have a shared fridge, and not one person seems like they've ever organized a fridge or played Tetris or something. They throw their Tupperware, half-empty bottles, delivery bags, etc., and close the door. I've already gone to the kitchen and found the fridge open because of overcrowding it and starting to defrost, which eventually ruins everyone's food. We had a few days where the cleaning personnel were not coming for external reasons, and the shared tables were filthy. Someone left a used glass for 2 days straight. Again, if you do it at home, fine, don't do it here. Lastly, reheating fish in a shared microwave should be illegal, but these people continue to do it. I want to start putting Post-it notes at certain spots of conflict, calling out everyone. I already brought up the issue of the fridge to my superior, but nothing was done. Am I wrong, or am I expecting too much from these people? Bring up the tough love if I need it. I hate it here, and I'm already thinking of quitting. Love you, gals. Hope you have a wonderful day. I have different thoughts and feelings. I don't think that you are having unrealistic expectations, but I think you are expecting too much of these specific people who have just constantly shown you that they're relatively gross. Like, you don't become like an adult who does those things in a shared workspace without knowing that it bothers other people. Like, how I clean and like keep our house is very different than how I am like when I'm visiting and staying at like Monty's parents' house or the mountain house or like anything like that. Like, so there's not like being completely unaware. And it does seem like they're all on the same page except you. So it might be like these people all work well together in their little office of their cubicle of filth, their office of filth, and you were the odd one out. So I don't think as humans you're expecting too much for asking people to be respectful, especially if you're like of a communal space. That's a workspace. Like, you already don't even like want it. Like, you have to be there. It's your job. Like, this is like, I don't know. Part of me thinks like, if you're already planning on leaving and you hate it, the passive aggressive notes would be fun. But I don't know if that would then if you would get fired, like, and you don't get severance or whatever shit comes from that. The last thing I'll say is the fish in the microwave thing. First of all, I mostly am either in awe or feeling bad for people who are microwaving fish, because either they have timed it so perfectly when cooking it previously that when they put it in the microwave, which you have been able to do, that you have, or were you doing that with steak? What was the one I was talking to you about earlier that I was like, how are you reheating that? Oh, it was steak. And you were like, you were undercooking it the just right amount. So then by the time that you would put it in the microwave, it would be like the exact right temperature. It would be perfectly done. So there are people who are able to do that with fish. I'm in awe of them. I'm like, tell me your ways. Like, look at those like, that's amazing. But then there are a lot of people who are reheating. They are eating sawdust at the end of it. Like, they are eating dry ass little wood chips. And for that, I feel bad for them. But I do have like, I don't know. I'm like very anti policing of food related smells. Like, actually, maybe I'm just anti policing of smells mostly in general. Like, yes, garbage without a doubt. But like, if someone farts, if you have to fart. Don't keep that. Go for it. Whatever you need to do for your body. But there are going to be smells and things that bother certain people and not other people. And maybe there's a universal smell that we all hate. But like, for me, I can't stand the smell of original Dawn Power Wash since I accidentally ate some. And I can't stand the smell of lavender. And those are things that like I recognize are me things. And if they're so bad that I can't deal with them, but like maybe I've also never dealt with something like that on like people really hate like tuna on a plane. Like, I would never do it because I know it's like socially I'm not supposed to do it, but like I don't know that I would notice if someone else did or I would really care, but I'm not sure. Like, maybe I just haven't experienced that. Mine's like smelly socks. That's like the thing. Like, those are like things I can't do. Mildew, smelly socks, BO.
But also, like, you don't know personally, like, if that's all that person had to eat for today. Like, they had leftovers. I guess for me, because I have my own contamination issues. So I'm constantly, if I'm out in a...
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone. So we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.
shared space, I'm going to clean it regardless. So this doesn't, like, I would not use the communal utensils or things. I would just bring my own. If this is how they've been working and you're doing this, they might also just be pushing back because you're leaving post-it notes. Like, I would find that so annoying. And it's
totally.
that's not like a dig at you, but like, personally, if I saw somebody leaving post-its everywhere to tell me to do something that not everybody is like not doing, like, it would just, like, they're probably talking, you're probably fine with this, but they're probably talking about you behind your back, how you're like trying to mommy everybody. And like, everybody, like, I would be like, I'm an adult, I can do whatever the hell I want to do. So I don't think that you leaving post-it notes is helping the situation at all. It's probably making it worse. So if you have issues with these things that everybody else has accepted, bring your own cleaning stuff. Like, if you're going to use the communal tables, just wipe it down and sit down. If you're have an issue with the dishes and stuff, bring your own mug, bring your own silverware, and just use that. With the bathroom, just flush it before you go in. Some people see it like as if they pee, they see it as an environmental thing. I'm not flushing the toilet. So like, I don't know what people's beliefs are. Do I think it's disgusting? Yes, because I don't want to, when you're flushing the toilet, all those particles are flying. So I'd flush it and like leave and then go back in.
Mm-hmm. I'd rather have my pee particles flying than someone else's.
Also, urine is sanitary, even though it's been sitting in the toilet. It might have cleaned the toilet a little bit better. But yeah, I think that what you're doing is annoying. And so I guess I think that you're wrong.
Yeah, I think if you did that, if you did that with the intent of changing hearts and minds, you would be wrong. If you did it for your own cathartic release, like, and you did it to cause chaos, it'll make it worse. But like, depends on what you want out of it. Like, I'm all for a cathartic release. And sometimes that takes form in things that are petty, but you have to know going into it that like, it's not going to be like a happy, pleasant surprise that it does shift the culture at the workplace. Like, it's not. And yeah, I think that you probably are the odd one out, which I don't think that your standard and expectation is wrong, but I think it is wrong to change people, and clearly management like is fine with it. So then it becomes like, okay, I'm not going to spend my time and energy trying to get these people to like step up to be a more considerate workplace and a cleaner workplace, because you're not being paid to do that. Like, I would find a different job at that point if you like in the best of your ability. So, wrong, not wrong.
All right. So that is it for this segment. We're going to take a break. Back from our break, and we're going to get into our final segment, but are they wrong? And that's when we pick somebody in the world who is the worst of the week, as Meghan likes to say, the woad of the week, the Rachel of the week.
Oh, tomato, tomato, tomato.
And my pick this week is Joanne Segovia, who is the executive director at the San Jose Police Officers Association.
Every week I hear a name I've never heard before, and you give me suddenly my number one enemy and another person I add to the list for my personal purge. I'm like, okay, what do we've got today?
What do you think Joanna did?
I don't know, but I heard police and San Jose, and nothing good is going to come from those two statements together.
So, Homeland Security said that between 2015 and January 2023, Joanna allegedly ordered using the Police Officers Association's computer and her home computer thousands of drugs. The drugs, you may ask, synthetic opioids, Xanax, fentanyl, you name it, which she ordered from India, and her plan was to distribute them. And, allegedly she already did that from 2015 on. The boxes, she had them labeled clocks and makeup. And she's now facing federal charges.
Be a little bit smart. Nobody is putting clock. First of all, you have multiple clocks and clocks and makeup. That logical sense.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up.
She's facing federal charges. About 61 shipments that they know of were made. In her Google search, she said, to paraphrase,
do you love Disney? Then you are going to love our hit podcast, Disney Countdown. I'm Megan, the magical millennial.
And I'm the dapper Danielle.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. There is nothing we don't cover.
We are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need in your life. So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
How do I get drugs from overseas? And
Melissa, I was about to ask you, how the fuck do you even do this? She Googled. I guess I could Google as well.
And then she started emailing other people. This broad has been selling drugs for over 7 years while working for the police. She also didn't like the supplier in India. So then she switched to China and she used Cash App to pay these people. So there's records of this. And then when she was caught, she blamed her housekeeper for ordering them, even though there are also records on computers at the police association. And she has been allegedly pointing fingers at immigrants and Mexican cartels for bringing opioids to the U.S.
When you said San Jose, I knew there had to be a racist element in here.
The call is literally coming from inside the house. Like,
the money is coming from your Cash App. The search engine is coming from your computer.
Like, bitch, the fuck?
First of all,
not surprised at, corruption in the police at all. The police is inherently corrupt. But then she's pointing fingers, which, again, tracks because that's what hypocrites do. But you're going to throw your housekeeper under the bus? Fuck off.
Also, I'm not saying you need to be a genius to commit crimes or anything like that. But if this shows you that there is no, wow, it's an apt comparison or a statement. There is no drug that is stronger and more intoxicating than power, especially in terms of policing. You and I and everyone else who hears this is what the fuck? But there's an untouchable feeling you have when you are working within law enforcement. And so legitimately, oh no, there is not a lot of thought and foresight going into this because I'll get out of it. It's me. I have all the access. I have the upper hand. I'm on this fucking power trip. So therefore I'm unfucking touchable. Whoa. Yeah. I'm actually not. So I wish, which I don't think that they will do, backstory for people. If anyone does not know, San Jose in California. And it's a relatively diverse area of California. And what happens in a lot of relatively diverse areas of California, I guess Southern California too, but specifically in Northern California, I'm more familiar with because that's where I grew up. You'll have a lot of fucking racist people. You'll have a lot. Then when you have a diverse area, lots of racist people who are in power, police who are in power. You have a lot of people who everyone abuses it everywhere, but it's you abuse it and then your citizens and the people, no one's holding you accountable because no one cares because the people who are voting for you and keeping those things, all of those things, you're yeah, no, we're all in agreement. We're all raging racist. So I wish, and I don't think they'll do this, but I would be absolutely shocked if one of the people that she was not selling to would have been specific precincts to then plant drugs on other people. Yeah. I don't think that they'll look into that because then they're going to uncover they would have to things. They'd have to reconcile with that as they already have to deal with all of that shit. But without a fucking doubt, that's why she was comfortable
she did it for 7 years. Yeah.
No, but blaming it on her housekeeper because it's hey, this is something that I know that I'm going to be able to do this. And these people will probably probably she was assuming that they were not onto her as much as they were, and it was at a federal level. And that, if someone else might have noticed, maybe at that point in her history, someone else called her out on it and she had the police plant drugs on them and was like, oh no, it's them. They're doing this. Like, I can't believe I missed hearing this.
You know me. I find things in the deep pockets of the internet.
Yeah, San Jose. A fucking deep pocket. Wow. Holy shit. Well, fuck her.
Yeah.
So for mine, I'm not nominating this person. I want to first start by saying the person who I saw this from. And it is a TikToker named Danny Morin 13. And I saw this morning and completely switched like what I was going to talk about because I had never heard of this before. And so I'm not going to get into her whole backstory too in depth. It's really sad. And also I have not done enough research to do it justice in the way that like she's an advocate and talks about it a lot. So I would check out, that is her TikTok account. She lost her child in 2016 due to negligence at a daycare in California. He was strangled by like an amber teething necklace. The daycare was so understaffed with far too many kids that they just didn't notice. And they were too negligent to call 911 or administer CPR. So he could have been saved. It was a very avoidable thing. And the ratio of kids to adults was so beyond past what is even legal. So since then, she has advocated against people using these amber teething necklaces. I mean, children die from them at home, like with two parents there, with even at daycares that have fine ratios. Like the actual mechanism of them themselves are dangerous and they're not recommended, and babies die. It's truly just not worth it. So she advocates against that. And then she also advocates for like safe and affordable childcare access for all and making mandates and specific requirements for these daycares and facilities. So she's worked so hard at doing all of this stuff and basically has been able to pass mandates and regulations through Congress with her advocacy to make sure that specifically in California, because California was one of the, and she found this out after she lost her son, California is one of the few states that doesn't have yearly mandated and required facility checks of daycares. So she got this bill passed where then California had to do yearly checks on these daycares because, she found out that the daycare, there were some other complaints there and things that they hadn't been up to code and doesn't know because, as you trust the government to be on top of these things. So she had posted this TikTok today as we're recording this on April 4th. And she has her younger son, she's looking to put him in daycare. And as she is like looking up different daycares to send him to, she is doing her due diligence now that she has been a fallen victim to knowing how shitty the system is. She's doing all of the research on these checks of these daycares. And she's seeing that none of them have had check-ins in 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, ever since. And she had passed that, they've passed this law in California that they're legally required to do yearly check-ins at these daycares. And they're just not doing it. She calls all these different people. She's like trying to figure this out. And they're basically giving her the runaround, even though she's like, hi, I'm the mom who advocated to Congress for this and this was passed. What's going on? And they're giving lots of different excuses. She finally gets on the top tippy top person in that chain to talk to. And they're like, oh, we can't do much but call these people. And she calls the other people and they're like, who gave you this? She says, and they're like, well, that's our boss. They're the one who is at the top of this. And they're blaming lots of different things, blaming COVID, saying that COVID, these daycares, they weren't in facility, 365 days, they weren't in use for a whole year. And it's well, no, it has been since then, all of this. And it's that they've passed a law that they're not enforcing. And so And this is like one of those things that's like, I think about it from an episode of Veep I recently watched with one of my favorite characters, Susan Ross, who was like, this bill seems great. How are we going to enforce it? And it was like all of these people being like, well, you know, like it'll be a law, so it'll be illegal if we don't. And it's like, okay, well, so who's monitoring who's not following it? Like, who's going to do that? Who's going to be on top of that? And this is one of those things that it's like, holy shit. So you can do everything. You can spend all of your time being an advocate for this because you suffered an immense trauma at this negligence. And even with all of these things in place, the system is not set up to follow through on what they have promised, nor have they spent the money to hire more people if that is the issue, to like check in and do all of this stuff. And then the recommendation that they gave her, which they told her not to tell people, but she goes, I'm telling people, was for any specific daycare that you want to send your kid to, like call your local government representative in your city or in your county or even in the state or social services and ask them to do a specific check on the daycare, which can be then flagged as a false report for abuse or something bad happening at a daycare that hasn't. So these daycares, most of them want these yearly check-ins, are asking for them. But right now, the only way that they're going to happen is if they get accused of doing something bad. So it's either accusing something that hasn't happened yet or waiting until it's too late. And that's kind of when it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And childcare in the United States is fucked. And the shit people you see about daycares and stuff, and like then very quickly their narrative switches to just employ a nanny. And it's like, well, people can't afford nannies. And it's like, well, then pay nannies what you pay. Like someone was like, well, like our daycare one of the comments was like, our daycare is $600 a week, the one that I work at. And like, I would take less than that from a family to be a nanny. And it's like, that's like less than $30,000 a year in California. Like you can't live on that. So then we're asking people to not take a living wage to take care of their children, to take care of somebody else's children. Like that person who you are entrusting to take care of your child, I don't want to skip out on how much I'm paying someone to do something like that because we don't have government funding for that. Like, I think that if we had government funded daycare, those people should also be paid very well. I think teachers should be paid very well, but all of this as a response of like, then take advantage of somebody else and don't pay them well is not the correct response to this. And just like, I don't know, this is like one of those ones that I'm like, there's like really nothing good coming out of, like, she did everything that she was supposed to. She did everything right. And like, when you think about it from like, I would never call myself like an activist, but from someone who like follows a lot of activists and like looks at people like talking the talk, walking the walk, and like going through and doing this stuff. Like this is something I look at and I was like, holy shit, wow. Like that took so much time, effort, and for a grieving mother to have the bandwidth to be able to do that and to then have people listen and pass through all of this stuff and then have it just kind of end there. It makes you feel like very small. And I'm not someone who like looks at elections or looks at things and is like, well, what's the point? Like, I'm just like not going to participate in this because like, it's just like a fail. It's never going to work out and all of that stuff. And she's not someone like that too. And like, I'm so thankful that she made this TikTok because a lot of the time, the reason why these things keep happening and they don't have to follow through on them is people don't know. And so I think her not taking this as a final say and not listening when someone said, don't tell people that this is how you do this. It's like, no, I'm going to make fucking noise. I'm going to make this shit blow up. And so then you have to fix it.
Yeah.
So fuck the government.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't think our government is great?
You know, I don't think our government lets anyone be great. And that's the truth of the matter. There are some people who could be great, but some are born great, some achieve great, some have greatness thrust upon them, and some of them then start having to become government employees and get their soul sucked out of them.
I agree with you, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I always thought those little necklaces were weird anyway.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't understand why it was because we don't see people putting other things around children's necks. So I never understood why they were okay anyway. Well, that's the end of the show. But you know how we spoke about having Malala of the Week before?
Yes.
So you know that TikTok that's going around with like Nicolas Cage making a face, and then
Pedro Pascal.
And then Pedro Pascal, and then so the first Malala posted on her Instagram or on her TikTok, the first one with Nicolas Cage, and it says Malala fighting for girls' education, and then the second one says with Pedro saying everyone's spamming our comments saying they hate school. And then someone responded and said, "You do slay, Malala, but we all hate school." And then Malala responded with this
bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
And it's just her like looking like, what the fuck? So we actually could probably do our Malala week because she's making funny TikToks.
Girly Pop hopped on TikTok and was like, let me help Meghan and Melissa out. I heard that they were struggling. They've got a lot on their plates right now. Maybe, so she heard last week's episode of Fisting Friday. She knows that our plates are full. And she said, let me give you guys something, not only to talk about, something to celebrate. Malala on TikTok. Wait, I'm loving this. And you know what, again, I love just picturing her husband doing all of these, like filming them for her as he's her number one fan. And it's just like him with like a selfie, like him with like a tripod holding a ring light, just being like, perfect. And you just hear like over and over again, the audio, bombastic side eye, and him just be like, perfect. Now
Got
little
it.
head angled a little bit, like, got it, perfect. Post it. They're going to love it. Oh. I love that. Thank you for sharing. I fully have it's not even crossed my TikTok, nothing. So I'm glad I got it from you before. It was just served to me. We didn't get to share in the Malala of the week together.
Yes.
So every week we just recap, what did Malala post on TikTok this week? If she makes an avocado toast, which I said, I was just like, do you ever think Malala just posts on her Instagram an avocado toast? Like, have some relaxation, like drink a kombucha, like get a massage, like go for like, you know, show me, like, I would love to see Malala on like an influencer brand trip, like literally just like on a vacation, like sponsored vacation, go to an Amman resort, like just a lovely, lovely, chill, soft life experience. So if we see a TikTok of Malala making an avocado toast, we know Malala listens to the podcast.
Right.
It'll be a sign. I'm holding my breath. I'm not. Anyways.
All right. Well,
okay.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
But Am I Wrong is a production by me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melissa DeMonts, plus Diamond Imprint Productions.
Post-production by Coco Lorenz.
And production assistance by Melanie D. Watson.
Merry Christmas, everybody. My name is Eric Peterson. I'm here with my good buddy,
Danny Jordan.
And we are the co-hosts of the Let me try that again. Merry Christmas, everybody. My name is Eric Peterson. I'm here with my good buddy,
Danny Jordan.
And we are the hosts of Christmas Countdown Show.
We're so thrilled to be bringing the merriment to you all this holiday season.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be massively merry, gigantically jolly, fantastically festive, as some people might say, Eric. We are all about alliterations, and we are all about Christmas spirit. On Christmas Countdown, we love to count down our top 10 favorite things related to the holiday season. That could be food, movies, music, everything that we all love about this massively merry good time. So wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you click that subscribe button. Eric, are you ready?
I am ready, and we hope that you are too. Merry Christmas, everybody. Let's go. It should be like, let's go, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.